want to talk about Veterans Day. This is Veterans Day weekend, and I wanted to take this time to honor the men and women who have worn the uniform to proudly serve the country. Um, I will also take this time, for those of you who don't know, to give a big shout out to my husband, Colby Shields, who served as a Navy bomb technician. Um, he has impressed upon me at a more personal and intimate level the amount of sacrifice, commitment, and honor among military personnel. But also, at this time, because I'm an occupational therapist and I work with families, I want to also take this time to also acknowledge um, the military family as a whole. I do believe they need to be acknowledged. The military spouse and the children who stand alongside with their military spouse or parent, and having to also deal with the many stresses that accompany combat deployment, injury, mental health as a whole. Stephanie Yamko Venko, a staff writer from the American Occupational Therapy Association, interviewed Gregory Leskin, the director of UCLA National Child Traumatic Stress Network's Military Family Initiative. He was a speaker in the 2012 AOTA, or American Occupational Therapy Association Advanced Practice in Traumatic Injuries and PTSD Specialty Conference. Anyway, during his speech, he highlighted very eloquently how the military family as a whole serve our country in many profound ways, and emphasized acknowledging their role and support, which is very, very important. As the military service, stress, and injury not only affects the service member, but the family as a whole. Currently, it's estimated that nearly 2 million children and youth are connected with the military, and approximately 20% or more have special needs. Military families have immense strength and tenacity and resilience. These military families undergo deployment stresses associated with parental separation, which can be one parent or both, parents being deployed, frequent moves from one base to another, causing disruptions to relationships or friendships that have developed, and having to readjust to new communities and schools for both the spouse and the child. It is estimated, and it was really interesting when I was doing this research to find out that on average, the military personnel moves every 2 to 3 years. This is 3 times more than an average American. And I do believe with any one of us who moves, you know what the transition is like. The stresses involved with just moving to a new place, understanding the needs of the new place, and that is even more profound, not with just a move with the military family alone, but if you have a child with special needs. Change is constant for these families as they get uprooted and constantly have to be in transition, which entails changes in the school system or changes in different schools, the medical professionals in that area, and also the support system that the family is going to get. What does this mean? The parent with a child with special needs would now need to relearn the system in the new place to develop a new plan of care for their child every time they move somewhere new. In the 2014 Military Connected Child with Special Healthcare Needs and Their Families Conference, the participants who were researchers and parents, families, military families, they suggested that developing communities of care, creating more education and training for service providers would be very useful. Also during that conference, it was highlighted that military families with special needs face complex issues and are dependent with both the military and community-based programs. So therefore, it's imperative for us to realize that it is equally important to know the stresses that the family undergoes and how to assist these military families. Understanding how to support the parents of special needs children in the military is extremely important as they experience a range of emotions, um, such as anxiety, depression, some of the emotions that they undergo. There's also the need for respite for the couples and parents, and having workshops was also addressed in this conference. There was another article that caught my attention as I researched for children in the military, and it's entitled Traumatic Grief in Military Children and Information for Families from the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. If you look at my blog, you will have the hyperlinks, so you'll have access to this information. I found this article particularly interesting and important. And I thought how useful it would be, especially for these parents, to understand how to manage not just their typically developing children, but also children with special needs. Firstly, it's important to understand how these children express grief, as we all express it in many different ways. There's no right or wrong way or a time frame to grief. It is also equally important to realize that not all children develop traumatic grief from the loss of someone close, but some do develop post-traumatic stress disorder, or what's known as PTSD. Now, in the article that I talk about or discuss, there's a table 1 in the article, which is especially helpful because it breaks it down by age range. I'm going to pull that out so I can get it. So, for example, they have the age range for preschoolers and young children. It's understanding of death. They do not understand that death is final. They may think that they will see the person again, or that the person may come back to life, may think it was their fault that the person passed away. So the common grief at this age would be the child may become upset when their routine change. They may get worried or fussy when apart from their usual caregivers and may be clingy and want extra attention. This again is for children ages between preschool and young children. Now, with that range of kids, what this article talks about is traumatic grief reactions in that age range, where you may see repetitively where they engage in play about death or the person who died. They may have problems getting back on schedule or meeting developmental milestones and may have difficulty being comforted. The next age range that you talk about is school-age children. Here, the understanding of death would be they gradually gain more mature understanding of death, begin to realize that death is final and the person or people do not come back to life, may have scary beliefs about death, like believing the boogeyman who comes for the person. What is normal in the grief reaction is they may ask lots of questions about how the person died and about what death means, may display distress and sadness in ways that are not always clear, like being irritable, easily angered. They might avoid spending time with others, or they may have physical complaints like headaches, stomach aches, trouble sleeping, having problems in school, or they may have just like a flat affect and have no reactions at all, or they may have dreams of events to death or war. What is a traumatic grief reaction within this age range for school-age children is that they may repeatedly talk or play about death, may have nightmares about death, may become withdrawn, hide feelings, especially guilt, avoid talking about the person and about the place or things related to death. They may avoid reminders of the person, may become jumpy, extra alert or nervous, may have difficulty concentrating on homework, classwork, suffer decline in grades, may worry excessively about health, their parents, may also act out. They can either become a bully or a class clown. With the teenagers, how they understand death, they have a full adult understanding of death, and what would be a normal or common grief reaction would be have similar grief reactions to those of school-age children, may withdraw, become sad, may act out, have trouble in school, may feel guilt, may worry about the future, may hide their true feelings. And For traumatic grief reactions for teenagers, they may have similar traumatic grief reactions to those in the school-age children, when at home or with friends or at school. They may avoid interpersonal or social situations, such as dating. They may use drugs or alcohol to deal with the negative feelings. They may talk of wanting to harm themselves, express thoughts of revenge or worries about the future, or they may have low self-esteem. Um, so yes, so that's quite a range. And for us to, why this is important for us to understand is because if we have a better understanding of where some of these behaviors are coming from, we can have a better approach in managing it, or in better managing and how to approach these children. So therefore, like I just said, understanding the underlying behavior may bring forth for us a better understanding and appreciation of the grief process that the child may be going through. And some of the behaviors that manifest out of the grieving behavior or process are as follows. Like change in sleep pattern, there might be increased crying, there might be regression of behavior, more complaints of aches and pains, anger, irritability and isolation, new fears or problems in school. There might be increase in tantrums, or the emergence of tantrum behaviors. And the article also talks about where you might have toddlers who can't really verbalize, and so you might have a toddler who might now start having tantrums. A child may lose interest in things or may display risky behaviors such as those described in teenagers. So the National Child Traumatic Stress Network has also developed a tip sheet for parents to recognize and help their children with traumatic grief. So there's several different examples. They've done a very thorough job from what I've read, of the different examples of what a child may be going through and how you can respond to it. So a couple of the examples are, in the tip sheet, it reads, I want him to know that I may isolate myself and feel lonely because I'm not with my military friends who get it and understand my life. The response to it reads, you can help me when you help me form new friends, encourage me to decide for myself how I want to keep my past military identity alive. The next example is, I want you to know that I really miss my service member. So it could be mom or dad or a sibling. It is confusing to feel really proud and also to feel upset or angry that they died by serving their country. The response reads, you can help me when you accept my different feelings and help me find ways to manage my grief, anger, or confusion. And then again, these are just two examples. There's several different examples listed. And this article talks about, these are some of the strategies. So you have like a tool sheet or a tip sheet of what you can, or how you can help the child, how to kind of carve out your answers to help them. And also you can reach out to mental health professionals. And there is a number there for you to reach out to them. For children with special needs, social stories is a wonderful medium to break down the process for them in a picture form, written form, or a combination of both. So the use of social stories can be an effective and powerful tool to help your special needs child to understand when a parent or a sibling will be deployed, which is a very challenging time for the whole family. So social stories are short, they're straightforward, describing the deployment in detail with social cues for the child to understand. The social story will help your child understand the change in the social situation and what to expect, thereby decreasing their sense of anxiety or their anxiety. The social story also gives the child time to process this information because you're reading it to them several times, or over a course or a period of time. So it gives them time to process that information and also develop coping strategies or coping skills for them. Again, I have a little link for you to read. Um, Next, I also have helpful resources for the military family with special needs. For example, getting your SSI card for a child sensory integration disorder. Um, this is only when the child has sensory integration disorder, which is quite severe, can a child get SSI disability benefits. Again, I have a link there that you can go through. Um, you can also, SSI. You can actually go through the whole process. There's a link here, what needs to be filled out. There's a form SSA 538 and sensory integration disorder. SSA must determine the SID cause a marked limitation in 2 domains or that it causes extreme limitation in 1 domain. The 6 domains that they talk about are attend and complete tasks, interact and relate with others, move about, manipulate objects, care for personal needs, and have good health and physical well-being. So the child has marked limitation or extreme limitation. Examples of how the SID must be to get a benefit. So they give you examples here. And actually they also have a live chat. So you have support you can go through the process of filling out that form. I personally know several parents because of how challenging it can be. Parents who've applied for the SSI. So I thought it was useful for anyone who may deem that it's necessary for you to have that information at hand. The next resource is the Exceptional Family Member Program, a program for families with special needs. This is tailored for families, the military families. So here, what they do is they offer many services for the military families. What the program is about is they help the family navigate the medical and educational system so you can have more peace of mind about your family members' care. They assist by identifying and enrolling family members with special medical or educational needs, finding out what services are available at your present and new duty stations, supporting your family with information, referral, and non-clinical case management to access services. So this is through all the military branches from the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. They also help with 2 important kinds of help, which is assignment of coordination and offering family support. So, for example, informing you about available local schools, early intervention programs, opportunities for families with special needs to connect, helping families understand what is offered, how to determine eligibility, and how to apply for benefits and entitlements. That's in the resource, so you can find it in the blog. And then I also found War and Sensory Processing. This is very interesting. This is an occupational therapist who does yoga, and they deal with persons with post-traumatic stress disorder, and they talk about people who may have had PTSD through war and how yoga can be very helpful because the system is very hyper aroused. And they talk about the top-down and bottom-up approach and how it's at a cellular level that you can start making those changes. Again, that link and resource is available. The next one is helping children cope when a loved one is on military deployment. This is very good because it gives you strategies for how to help the teachers as well manage and what to do when your parent is going off for deployment or when a parent is coming back, because it's going to be a change in the routine. And so it goes through a step-by-step process of what you possibly can do to help the child. The next link is Books for Military Children. You may already know about this. This is Operations Via Here, and it's different books that are available for the child. For example, you have military children's books about Afghanistan and Iraq, the Coastal Guard, deployed mother families of the fallen, military life, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, wounded warrior families, recordable books, create your own books, online reading. Um, they also have books for military teams, deployment journals, military personnel, home front military families, children and teens, parents of military, where they provide deployment support. So there's tons of resources here. If you if you already have come to access with it, it's great. Otherwise, I have it in my link, and it will be in my blog post. Um, Again, I'd like to end this blog by thanking the men and women who have served the country, and I also want to take this time to thank the military families, both the spouses and the children who stand by you. So thank you very much for listening to my blog, and I will talk to you soon.